When you discovered the law of attraction, you started to believe anything was possible. Life got better, much better. Now you want more, but it's not working. That's where the Manifest It Now show comes in. If you've been waiting for someone who can teach you the practical application to manifest quicker and easier while having more, turn the volume up, because the dynamic duo, Cassie Parks and Ginny Gain, are ready to teach you how to live the law of attraction like they do. It's time to laugh and learn.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Manifest It Now. I'm here with Cassie Parks.
And I'm here with Ginny Gain.
And our topic for today, we're going to talk about faith in manifesting. Do you have faith in manifesting? Have you lost your faith in manifesting? What is faith in manifesting? You're wondering where that came from?
I am. I'm like, okay, that's a new type of intro. Good job. I can't figure out what it sounds like, but
sometimes it just comes out, you know? You never know.
I love it. It was amazing.
What are you excited about, Cass?
Oh my gosh. I am excited about everything. Like,
you have a lot going on in your life right now.
I do have a lot going on, and so much is falling into, not that it was ever out of place. So falling into place seems like a weird thing to say, but so much is coming in. That's a better way. It's not falling into place. Like, so much is just like, it's like getting to that place on the path, you know? Like, there are times where I don't know why, I always think of Candyland when I think of manifesting. Because it's like you go through the things, and sometimes you're like on a special square, and sometimes you get to cross the bridge and whatever. And sometimes it feels like you're going backwards, but then you could just get the next card and you could get so much closer. Anyway.
Oh my God, you're hilarious. I've never heard this from you, and I don't really know what Candyland is, but it's hilarious.
Yeah? Yeah. Oh, you don't? Oh my gosh. It's so fun. Anyway, we could talk about that later. But so, like, I just feel like you're on this path, and like sometimes you're going through, like, you know, the forest, and sometimes you're like in the middle of the sunshine and everything is perfect, and the birds are singing, and it's all part of it, and it's all good. But I don't know, I'm just at the place where like it's just feels so awesome, and it feels like the part that's easier. Like, there are some parts of growth that are not super fun, and they're hard, and just the last couple of days is like, yeah, like it just feels so good, like working in my business and scripting, and everything is flowing so easily. And I always love that, because I don't do things in my business when they don't flow easily. And sometimes waiting for, like, not waiting on inspiration, but working when you're inspired can be frustrating when it doesn't match other timelines you feel like it should match. But everything just like, this week has just been extra special.
Nice.
Anyway, that was a long what I'm excited about.
You're feeling the sunshine part now.
I am so feeling the sunshine.
That's awesome. I'm really excited about, I know I beat you to it, but it's small and it's silly, but it was really kind of amazing. Last night when we were walking the dogs, so this thing happens in Florida where you can see thunder and lightning, or you don't see thunder, you can see lightning so often in the distance, and when it's not raining, it's like beautiful outside. So we were walking the dogs, and in the distance there was these clouds, these thunder clouds, and there was lightning going on inside them, and it was the coolest thing. I don't think I've ever seen something like that. It was so beautiful. I was like in awe of it. I kept stopping and turning around and being like, oh my God. She was laughing at me because I was getting so excited. But it was so beautiful. It was like contained. So there was like the huge light sky behind, and then the dark clouds. And then the clouds were like lighting up, but they were contained. The light was like contained by the clouds. And it was just so beautiful and amazing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Mother Nature is just amazing. And it was one of those, like, you kind of catch yourself admiring the beauty, and you're just like in awe. And I was really excited about that. That's the most recent really excitement.
That's amazing.
Oh, and I was Lisa was teasing me. She's like, because I'm like, oh, have you seen that before? She's kind of like, Probably. Lived here my whole life.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was fun. So getting into our topic today, this came from a question from one of my clients, and it came in the form of, I'm losing faith in my manifesting. And I was like, WTF. And I was like, this is a great topic. So I wanted to talk about this. So right away, I just want to share, like, my immediate response is that you either, and Cass, you can share how you feel about this, but you either have faith or you don't have faith. And it's not something you can actually lose if you have it. What do you think?
Ooh. So I think you can go back and forth, and I think that's what causes problems in manifesting.
What do you mean back and forth?
So I always have faith. I would say that's you too, right? Like, I'm always 100%. I know manifesting, like my work, I put it under a broader term, but like my work, my creating my life, my future self, like it's always working. I believe that there's never a time when I waver or have a thought like that. And there has not been for a long time. Like a very long time. I don't know if there ever was. But so I think that the thing is, when we like wavering on that faith causes a lot of problems for people, because as soon as you're like, well, I don't have faith. So you're right. I actually agree. You either have faith or you don't.
Okay.
And I think, let me change because what I was about to say. So you have it and you hold it 100% of the time, or you don't, but like you want to believe you do sometimes. And that's what causes the problem with manifesting.
So if we maybe try to define it a little bit so we know what we're talking about, how I would describe faith is a belief in something you can't see.
Yes.
Okay. And so if you have, what I took from this, like I'm losing faith in manifesting, was more of, I'm not seeing the evidence, so I don't believe. And that's why, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, can I add something like see or that you can prove?
Right. That you can, and in the physical reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead. So what you take from that?
Yeah, so what I took from that is that it wasn't, faith is more of in the non-seeing part. And if you're associating your faith or your belief in something because you can see it, that's very conditional. And that's kind of not really, that's a part of manifesting. Yes, you're going to see evidence, but Cass and I want to guide you to the place where you don't need the conditions to know. You don't need the conditions to believe overall.
Yes.
I think that it's because when you think of how this whole thing works, it's like you want something, and we talk about you get to that feeling first and then you see the result of it. And so if you're saying I need to see the result, and then in order to believe, in order to feel this way, that it's opposite of everything we're teaching or everything we're talking about.
Yeah. Say that again.
So if you need to see the evidence of what you want in order to believe it's possible, that's the opposite of this message, because you know how you need to be able to feel it first, and then you see the result of that. So you see the manifestation in your physical reality once you feel it, once you've activated it within you, not the other way around.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so if you're always going to not have faith if you're waiting to see it to believe it.
Right. Exactly. What do you think the difference is between like faith and belief?
Faith and belief.
Just put you on the spot here.
Yeah. I think faith is that extra. That it's that thing that, because I think we can believe things and we when we talk about beliefs, right? There are certain things that go through our head. We believe certain things, and some of those have to do with outcomes, and some of those are just what we believe for ourselves, right? And so belief it's a way that it's something that determines also how we move through the world and what happens to us and how we think about things. It determines our thoughts. And faith is that extra. It's that believing and it's possible. It's just that extra thing that comes without that proof.
Yeah.
Right? It goes
like
back to that
knowing.
proof or yes, it's knowing. Yeah.
I like to use the example of you don't believe the sun's going to rise tomorrow. You just know it is. Like, even if you can't see it, you know it's there. And it's that same level. That's what faith is. So if you're questioning your belief in manifesting, it's different than questioning your faith in manifesting or in a belief in something specific. And maybe all of this just brought up a linguistic thing, Maybe the comment actually meant I'm questioning my belief that this is possible. That would have been more accurate because belief is something that you can have or not have. Or, you can lose. You can lose your belief in something because if your belief is based on that, belief is generally more based on things that we see in our reality. And so, if you have... I lost where I was going with that.
Well, I'll just say this. Beliefs are more fluid than faith.
Yes.
Because faith is almost like a decision. It takes a decision.
I agree. I actually agree with that. Keep going.
Oh, and I think it's that decision to have faith that changes the whole manifesting game. Right? When you make the decision, I'm believing this. Because what most people, this keeps popping in my head, so I'm going to share it. What most people do, or I've heard anyway, a lot of people that come to me do, is they read a book and they believe in manifesting and they start doing it, but then they don't see the results they want, so they fall off. And then things get bad and they read another book and they're like, yes, I believe it. I'm going to do the things. And they don't see the results they want and they fall off. And it's just this constant ebb and flow. The decision to once and for all have faith that it works and that you're going to keep doing the things or you're going to find someone to help you figure out what you could do better to get you better results is what makes you the ultimate manifestor. It's that faith. It's that decision. It's that you're deciding I'm no longer going to do the up and down and do it sometimes and believe sometimes and not. Like faith is like, I always know this is working. So I always am choosing. I'm always making decisions that are in alignment. I'm always conscious about all these things that are happening in my life and how I want to perceive them, talk about them, believe them. Faith really, it is that decision that then leads the way and everything else.
Yes. Do you think would you agree with this statement, is that if you decide to believe that over time it turns into faith?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need, go ahead.
No, you go.
The longevity builds your faith, right? So even when you make the decision and you can start with the belief too, like, it's the longevity that increases your faith. Even though it is or it isn't, it's what increases you to stay in the it is and not waver is when you see over time, like, oh, that was actually that working out. I just didn't know it because it's not exactly how I thought it would go.
Exactly.
The more examples you get of how it is working, which means you have to stay with the process longer. You have to keep believing even when it doesn't look like it. That builds that stronger and stronger faith.
Yes, totally. When you've had enough experiences in your life and you're like, oh, that time I didn't think it was working out and it was. And that time I didn't think it was working out and it was. And you start to step into, oh, that I don't have to worry in those in-between times. That's when you're like, you really start to own that, have that faith or embody that faith. And when things aren't working out, seemingly working out for you in the physical world, your faith carries you through that time. It doesn't, when you have it and when it's strong, it then you don't dip, right? Because then that's what you're tuned into. That's that vibration you're holding on to. I just had a question the other day in my group about how, what do you do in those in-between times when not all the stuff is just happening, when it's not all falling into place. Or like you said, when it's not the sunny part. I love that analogy now. And I just think that the underlying part about that is continue to retune into, I know this is happening. Use your faith, leverage that. And I know things work out for me. And there's not things, this is the biggest part where we jump into action because we think we should be doing things. But the only thing you need to be doing is tuning into that faith, tuning into that knowing that the sun's going to rise tomorrow. The sun's going to rise tomorrow. That's how you can have that much faith in that things are working out for you. And when you do, they work out easier and smoother and quicker and all those good things.
I love it because I know like some of my clients like are needing this episode right now. So I love that we're having it. Just because like, as you say it confirms like things I've been saying and they'll hear it, a little bit different. Like they'll get it a little bit differently. And what I was going to say is that it's oftentimes I think faith wavers when we can't find action. Or when we're in too much action. When we believe we're supposed to be in action to make something happen and we start judging that wavers our faith. When you're in the in-between, a lot of times there is no action except for when you said like the sun and what do you do when you're not in the sun? Like what came to my mind was like dance anyway. Just keep dancing, right? Keep doing the things. And the things are being you, tapping into the feeling, all the things. They're not actionable things. They're not the steps. They're not going out and, applying for a job or doing this or they're just, but when we don't have those actions, that list of actions that we think we can go to, often I see people's faith not as strong because faith is having that faith that you're doing it without a bunch of actions.
Yeah, I really like this sun example because we don't worry if we don't see the sun one day that it's not going to come out. So when you apply that to what you're creating in your life, there's zero reason to ever worry or question that you're moving towards what you want. It is coming. It's there. It's waiting for you. Just because you can't see it right now, it doesn't mean it's not coming. And so believe or know. And one of the things, like use this example in your life. So if you're questioning whether something's showing up, think of how you feel about the sun coming up tomorrow or that you can't see it. Feel that energy within you and then kind of like transfer it over to whatever it is in your life that you're kind of questioning. Because that's activating the feeling of trusting and having that faith in what you want is coming and is working out.
It is.
Vibrational transference. It is. It's one of the things I'm just trying to think. It might be the thing that I would credit to why my life flows in so much that in the way that it does is that as soon as I understood about like vibrational creation, it was there. It was like in an instant, and I never doubt. I don't have any doubts that I'm moving towards what I want, and that's that's underlying everything I do. So even if I'm like going up and down or around or whatever, I always have that knowing, and it is so grounding, and it really allows me to be a lot easier along the way. Yeah.
I get that. And I think I've always known it works. I just needed to figure out the mechanics of it working. Like for me, it was never the system it was broken. It was, okay, I have to get to this other place and I'm going to do what works or feels like working. And it's never like stop. I'm way more intentional and it's way deeper now. And I understand way more about the practice. But I've always known it works. And so as soon as I found the thing where I was like, oh yeah, this super works, and had evidence where I was like, clearly this is how I do it, like that faith just increased immensely, because I always knew it was possible. But once I found my mechanics, like that's where my magic was.
Oh, that's so interesting. So when you talk about like that it works, you mean like manifesting, like turning your thoughts to things, or like what you want in your head becomes your reality, right?
Yeah. And for me, I think it has always been bigger. I've never been, what I'm realizing now, we talk about the short game and the long game. I don't think I've ever been a short termer. Like I've never played the short. That's not true. I mean, the first time I visualized $20, that was the short game, right? When I was
fun.
12.
Yeah.
When I visualized winning the $12 and I used visualization and then I won it, or $20, not 12, 20 the next day. That was short term. But when I really started, I've always been long term. It's always been about a life, because for me, that's why I turned up my practice of manifesting. I'd already done it, but like years later when I'm like, okay, let me apply this, really I wanted a life. Like It was always about, I want this life. I want a business. I want to have control of my time. It's always been about the life. And so for me, as we're talking, and I think this plays into the faith thing, I've always been in it for the long game.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you clarified that, because it's the same with me. And I think maybe this might be a little like a line or balance point, because if you are thinking solely of manifesting or having belief in manifesting, it's kind of like really relates to that short game, long game, because in order for you to have faith, you do need to see results. Otherwise, you're not going. There's no reason for you to have that belief, because you're doing it to manifest something. But if you're in it for the long game of who you're being and what kind of life experience you're having, then it's easier to see how that works to understand and to make beingness the goal, or like you being your best self, your most authentic self, the goal. And then you see the manifestations of that. And then so that there's an underlying faith that's kind of like deeper. So it's probably easier to have faith when you're kind of looking at it that way. Does that make sense, Cass?
Absolutely. And what just happened when you were talking was like one of the coolest things ever. I just like went back to the first intention of that life and saw how everything that didn't feel like it was working, like I've just never looked back this way. Everything that might have felt in that moment like it was hard and it wasn't working out was actually lining me up for right now. Like it was that original intention, like I want to be financially independent when I was 19, like spurred the path to like, okay, I got to quit college at this moment so that the timing is right for this other job that made me the money that I needed to do these other things.
Yeah.
And really set the path.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. And I know,
it's so fun.
I love that you said those things that seemed hard at that time were setting you up. So just like what we talked about like last week, when we're saying you're always being led, and even though it might seem tricky, you're being guided towards becoming that person. And you just need time in order to have that knowing, because you can have that reflection and feel that. Yeah. Okay, I have one more question for you on this.
Yeah. I'm so excited.
Do you think you can develop faith? Like, or do you think it's innately in you all along? Or how do you think that works? Can you get it or what?
Can you develop it? I think that's a tricky question for me, because it starts with that decision. So if you're like here and you're like, yeah, I've been wobbly, or maybe I don't have full faith in manifesting, the first step I would say today is to make a decision. And I believe what has to come with that is a long game commitment as well, because it's the long game that's going to do that. And then as you commit, as you say, like, yes, I'm going all in, I'm going to have faith, and I'm ready for the journey of that, like, then you develop it. I think you can develop it. I also think you have to go all in first. It's the same thing, right? It's not, because it's faith. It's not seeing it to believe. It's believing, it's I have faith, and then you're going to develop a stronger faith along the way through experience because you're in it.
Yeah.
What do you think? I want to hear your answer.
Well, as you were talking, I was just kind of realizing, because Lisa and I had a little bit of this conversation a week ago or something, and it was just, I mean, I love talking about this stuff. But I hadn't had this clarity yet. And I think that innately we all do have faith. And I think where that feeling of faith comes from is being connected to your inner being, like being connected to your true self, that it comes from there. So it's in you. And when you open, the more and more you open up and feel your authentic self, the more and more faith you feel. So like the strengthening of your faith is actually you aligning more and more and more and more with your true self.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it totally, and if anyone's like, oh, I don't know if anyone thought those two answers sound different, but as you were talking, I'm like, oh yeah, it totally makes sense, right? You're like, it's innate in us, which is why we have the ability to make the conscious choice, like I'm going to believe. Yeah. And then as we go, you're going to open more to yourself and you're going to open more to faith, and it's all going to work together.
Exactly. All those decisions are openings. All those decisions you make, I'm going to decide this and I'm going to commit to this. That's all opening and feeling the truth of who you are more and more. They perfectly go together.
And this is why it's probably not the time, but you keep saying like the truth of who you are. And if if you feel like it's not working, there's probably some core that's not the truth of who you are. And I'll go back in my own story and say that. When I wanted my business and I was trying to manifest my business, and it wasn't flowing and it wasn't quote unquote working. It wasn't working. That's just the truth. It was not working. It's because it's the moment that I stepped and I asked myself, what do you really want? Which is my truth. And it was financial independence. Boom. That's when the door became different, right? That's when I could get what I want and it. And so if it's not, it's probably not your truth if it's not working on some level. It's probably a how.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I just had a huge personal aha in my life recently about this, but we'll save that for a future episode. Just leave a little teaser on there for you.
I love it. Yes.
I love it. Okay, so anything else you want to wrap up with here before we go?
I think I said it all. Like, this is a great episode. Do you have any like final thoughts or things to put the bow on it?
Well, I want to just wrap around to that question. Like if you felt, I feel like I'm losing my faith in manifesting, I would invite you to go deeper. So instead of making the topic about your manifesting, bring it right back to yourself and that relationship with you. And so come back to the faith that's already within you and just make that the focus, that the priority, and then let those details fall into place in terms of whatever you're manifesting.
Awesome.
All right. Have a great week, everybody.
Bye.
Go be awesome.
Thank you for joining us on the Manifest It Now show, where you learn how to leverage the law of attraction to manifest your dreams. Now that you're inspired, share the love and review us on iTunes. While you're there, remember to subscribe.